All right, welcome back to Texan and Aggies Live, part of the Voice of College Football Network. I'm your host, Cameron Honesty, joined as always by my co-host, Cannon Torres. We are here to discuss after it's been about 3 days, I think, since Texas A&M's 41-40 win over the number 8 ranked Notre Dame. That's the first non-conference ranked road win since 1979. That's the first ranked road win since 2014. I remember that. I think that was the Kyle Allen game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was telling some of the other. I'm like, I remember that game like it was yesterday.
We're still coming down off of the high, Cameron.
Which is just it's just crazy to me because I've had, one of the best. I was up all night pretty much. I was up till probably close to 2 a.m. doing recaps, doing everything all of us guys who cover A&M professionally were doing. But again, it was worth it because I can honestly say that through my 3 to 4 years of covering this program, that's the best one I've seen. Hands down, the most clutch way to end it. Obviously, we'll go through the pretty much every key play. But, my general takeaway was that, and we've been saying this on the show for a while, is that if you can accomplish one of the toughest and go on the road in South Bend where it's nearly impossible to win, most of the time because Northern Illinois did it last year, kind of shocked them. But again, Notre Dame beat everybody by 40 points after they beat A&M to open the 24 season in Kyle Field and made their way all the way to the playoffs, made their way to the national championship game, almost defeating Ohio State. So we were talking about a team that could have easily run over an A&M team that wasn't ready. Let's go. And that seemed like that was the case early on after the block punt that led to the touchdown. A&M kind of looked discombobulated a little bit. They didn't really have they didn't look like that confident team that we thought we saw pregame. And then I'm going to get you in a second because I want to get through every key play. I'm still kind of hyped up over this. It was a similar play that we saw against Florida last year. A little roll out to the left, and it was a dump off to the former speedy wide receiver they had, Cyrus Allen, not playing in Cincinnati. That led to, I believe it was a 70-yard touchdown against the Gators. Well, pretty much the same exact play to Texas A&M's transfer wide receiver from Mississippi State, Mario Cravers, who, in my opinion, looks like the best player in the SEC right now, leading to a 72-yard touchdown to tie the game at 7. And we did not look back after that. They were off and running.
After that, your heart kind of went to another level of just like, wow, that was electric, right?
Yeah.
This 41-40 win at Notre Dame, it wasn't just like another road victory. It was a major statement. It's a program-defining moment, really.
Yeah.
The Aggies just kind of stared down one of college football's biggest brands, at least entire history, and just kind of went into South Bend and just delivered. That's really how it bottoms out to. It just delivered. And I think we do need to start off with the elite duo that is Mario Cravers and Casey Concepcion, because they were incredible, right? I think that their combination of deep shots and kind of it's just a completely different attack than it was this past season.
Completely different. We didn't see anything like this last
season.
No,
we didn't.
And mainly, I think, and sorry to cut you off, but I think that has to do just with the level of athlete they had compared to last season. And that's nothing against Jabari Barber, Cyrus Allen, guys like that. But when you put Casey Concepcion and Mario Cravers into this offense, and we had both been saying, I'd been saying it at Aggies Wire for probably right after both those guys got in there, really defending Colin Klein and saying, look, he's got his guys now. Now he can open that playbook that we saw at Kansas State. And again, during this time at Kansas State as our OC, he still didn't have those type of games. But you saw some wrinkles there. You saw some wrinkles, especially when he had better quarterback play, and he did have some speedier guys on the outside. But now when you get to the best wide receivers, and especially someone like Mario Cravers, Casey Concepcion was more established coming in. Mario Cravers, there were unknowns there, right? It was like, freshman season at Mississippi State, was a known deep threat, had a great game versus Georgia. I think he had a bomb type touchdown on a deep pass, similar to the one he had against Utah State last week that Miles O'Neill threw him. And so you knew that deep speed. You knew that quickness. I want to be honest, we did not know that this is what we were going to get 3 games in, because
no,
this kid looks like a future NFL star at this point.
Well, the thing was with Mississippi last year going into year 1 under Levy was that they were a big widespread kind of offense. That's what they wanted to do with Shape, and it's kind of what they're doing now so they can spread out their run game. This specific offense is mainly just kind of compacting with that RPO to try and open up that run game. And that's what you saw is it just gets these wide receivers open in little pockets, especially in zone. So when you have 2 wide receivers in Craver and Concepcion that combine for 289 yards, it's just momentum shifting play after momentum shifting play every single time. And it's just like after you get a 207 yard game for Mario Craver, it just felt like every single time you knew where the ball was going, and it was just a gut punch to Notre Dame's secondary every single time. And we had talked about it with Mike Chen, who's a great writer over with Notre Dame Fighting Irish Wire. And this was kind of the thing where how could these Aggie wide receivers match up against this secondary that under Notre Dame's past defensive coordinator last year compared to this year? How could they match up? And we really were like, how could Casey Concepcion match up with Leonard Moore? And we saw that kind of go back and forth throughout the night. Even with Leonard Moore coming off with interception, it was really Christian Gray against Mario Craver that was the big thing. And when Christian Gray was helped off the field with a little injury, they saw that, or the Aggies saw and just attacked that backup cornerback every single time. So what are your thoughts overall on just how the Aggies were able to attack that matchup?
I mean, it's great coaching. Mike Elko was named this week to the Dodd Coach of the Week, which makes sense because it was brilliant. I mean, he knew it. That's good coaching in a nutshell. Is that when you see one of your opposing defense's strengths go down, you attack, and Marcel Reed, who we can talk pretty much the entire show about the gutsiness, the progress we've seen in the pocket, staying in, not trying to bail out immediately if something doesn't come open, trying to get through his progressions. And he saw pressure coming his way. Granted, the A&M offensive line looked great in pass protection to allow a sack all game, which is otherworldly against a very stout Notre Dame defensive line. So that's another thing we can get to. But again, he just told his quarterback, and I guarantee Colin Klein is saying the same thing. We've got 2 of the best wide receivers in the country. Target that kid. Target that freshman cornerback out there for deep gains because we got to get chunk yards. Marcel Reed only completed, I think it was 17 of 37. That was a thing that I thought people talking about less accurate. But it doesn't matter because the game plan was explosive plays through the air. That's what they got. Almost every one of his 17 completions were explosive. For those who don't know, explosive plays were 20 yards or more. And both Casey Concepcion, I think Mario Cravers. So he ended up with 207 on the game. I think he averaged 29 yards per catch, which is just insane.
Yeah, that's just an insane number.
It's insane. And it's just, I mean, he's an elite separator, both him and KCR. I think it was the catch by Casey Concepcion near the goal line. That was just a perfect pass, kind of slowing down his progression, getting his feet under him and making that catch near the goal line from Marcel Reed. That's the thing. This offense is humming right now. And all we really cared about, and we'll get to the defense a little later, but all we really cared about in this game, and we knew that it could be a track race, right? I think both of us predicted a lower scoring game. I do know that Carter Carroll's gave him 24-7. I think he had like 34-31 at one point, or it was something with the score, I think. Yeah. And he's
I think you got that exactly right.
I was like, see, he kind of knew something we didn't in a way, is that if, against 2 good teams, I still think Notre Dame is a pretty good team. I think they have a pretty good chance of going undefeated the rest of the way, personally. We'll see what happens. Because I will say kudos to CJ Carr. Had a great game. That's going to be a very good quarterback for them. He gave A&M's defense everything they could handle. But yeah, just my biggest takeaway from this offense is that Colin Klein has every piece in his toolkit to get this thing done, because he's got the quarterback with the swagger, who is not scared, who has improved. Like we said, we were waiting for these games to start so he could live up to that hype, because all we heard all offseason was that he's improved as a passer in the pocket. His accuracy is much better. Again, his accuracy wasn't great in this game, but he was he's throwing dots, as the kids say. I mean, they were right. I mean, there were a couple overthrows, one to Casey that he extended for, which is pretty incredible. But that's going to happen in these games because you're playing under the lights in South Bend. And again, one of the toughest places in college football to play. I can tell you, I know a lot of people. My brother-in-law, his whole family went to Notre Dame. They're big Notre Dame people. They told I have not been there personally, but they've told me how raucous it gets, how intimidating it is. I mean, the history there. And again, A&M just went in there, made mistakes early, and trusted that offense enough throughout the game to get this done because they have full trust in Marcel Reed and this receiving core to win anywhere. Not just Kyle Field, not just when your fans are in front of you, but go anywhere in the country, in the SEC, and get it done and fight to the very end.
Yeah, definitely a big fight. And everybody just are going to take to social media, as football fans will. I know that whether or not flags were thrown or not, and the Aggies were heavily penalized throughout the night. The fact of the matter is they weren't thrown at the end of the day. So you tell you what, it's the age-old saying: you win some, you lose some. And this one, both teams had major chances to capitalize on things and did or didn't. And it just so happens that the Aggies were able to pull this one out on a spectacular, 4th and goal situation from the 12-yard line. So shout out!
I had to wear the shirt today. I try not to be that guy, but I had to do it. I had to do it. I wish I had a shirt of Nate Borkerker. I mean, there were the pictures even, and I was just so excited to use those. The great shots they got from the game from USA Today that we used on for Aggies Wire, and I was just like, I was so happy with that kid. Like, that etched in program history forever, that catch. And the way so, I mean, setting it up, obviously, to go through it. So, you or I could do that. So I guess I'll kind of start. A&M is down 40-34, mainly because Tyler Buckner, who has been with Notre Dame for, I think, since I was an infant at this point, botched the snap on the extra point, picked it up, obviously former quarterback, tried to throw it. Obviously, there was nothing there. So this glimmer of hope when me and a lot of other people thought maybe this game's over, right? Maybe this was just the last gasp effort. Well, again, Texas A&M, their offense was just completely confident. We kind of saw during the Texas A&M media released the drive. I think it was yesterday, kind of showing the moments before. And I mean, you should see that sideline. They were all confident. They're like, you know what?
Yeah,
we can win this game now. And chunk gain. You get down to the goal line. A ton of penalties back them up. We'll get to the penalty that Notre Dame media and Terry McCauley are kind of whining about. I guess we'll have to mention it. But again, look, they call what they call. It was 4th and goal. They had to have a perfect play. We knew that it was most likely going to be a fade of some sort, trying to get a bigger receiver on the outside, one-on-one. Did not know it was going to be Nate, their transfer tight end from Nebraska, not known for his receiving, more of a blocker, had a great game pass blocking, so that good for him on that. And I mean, Marcel Reed threw a perfect pass, veered to his left, threw a perfect pass on the left side of the end zone. It was one-on-one with Borker. I'm going to mess his name up all day. He was blinded by the lights. He said in the postgame, didn't even see the ball coming until the final minutes where he put his hands up, got that thing, held on for dear life, got down. And I think everybody, all of us, were just like, I can't believe that just happened, because we trusted that Randy Bond was going to make that extra point, which he did. But that touchdown was historical. It was incredible. I loved it for him. A kid who was a 0-star recruit, essentially, was really a nobody in the transfer portal. I remember when they picked him up, nobody really batted on. They said, "Oh, just another blocking tight end." Nobody thought that he would be a part of one of the greatest plays in Texas A&M football history.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big signature Mike Elko win. He has 3 top 10 wins in his first, I think 11 or 12 Power 4 games. Right? Is that the?
So. Are we going back to Duke?
Yes.
Because he defeated Notre Dame, I think, his first year.
Mm-hmm.
Duke. Yeah, and then you're right. If I can kind of count in my head, yeah.
I mean, Reed looks like a star. Klein has his offense clicking now with Le'Veon Moss almost back to – it looks like he's 95, if not 100% full form, and A&M now has balance on that offense to contend. Yes, there are things to clean up, but that's why you are able to kind of have these matchups to know exactly what you need to shore up. And with a bye this next week, you know what you're needing to do.
Yeah.
So, and you have 3 straight home games ahead, and the Aggies are now firmly tied with Georgia, Georgia, Vandy. I mean, all teams that are kind of undefeated so far. But I think their strength of resume so far has kind of exceeded expectations going into this season, and we're kind of ready to slate off the SEC play.
Yeah, I mean, again, I've said, and I think both of us agree that if they could get this done and do it in the fashion they did, because I would, if this was a game that was, a luck win or like a low-scoring contest where, A&M's defense, or let's say, Notre Dame's offense was just struggling throughout the night. A&M got a couple lucky calls and it was a low-scoring affair. I don't know if we'd be that confident coming out of it, right? Like, let's say their offense still looks stagnant and the wide receivers really aren't doing much against these cornerbacks. And you're kind of thinking, oh, well, they were just doing this against lesser competition. That wasn't the case at all. They're doing it against future NFL guys. And I think that every cornerback in the country wants a piece of Mario Cravers and Casey Concepcion just to try to prove that they're good. Because if they shred them, if they shred everybody going forward, A&M's passing game is just going to become better and better because that Marcel Reed's just going to get more accurate. The confidence is just going to keep going and going up. They're returning, like you said, and we will be doing a deep dive about the Auburn game next week, hopefully with one of my fellow site editors at College Wires. But again, it just sets up perfectly because you get full rest this week. You start practice midweek next week. You're back in Kyle Field for 3 straight weeks. And then, you have these deep road tests but again, you passed the first test of the season and it was massive. I mean, that's the term to use, is massive, because you have checked so many boxes already, and we're going to get to the defense. Now, let's talk about the no call that Terry McCauley, former NFL ref, who's been on social media throughout.
You don't even need. We could just skip.
We'll just say it. I just want to defend it. Is that they miss calls all the time, and if you watch the all 22 of that play, I guarantee 99% of refs would have missed that call, because it just. I'm going to be honest. It just kind of happened like in all the brush of Marcel Reed veering left and all the blockers in front, and then just kind of that guy falling, and it kind of looks like I don't even know who it was. It was either Chase Bisontis or it was
Bisontis.
It was Bisontis, kind of hugging his legs a little bit, looking like he was tackling him. But no, I'm sorry, nobody's going to see that, and that's why they didn't see it, because they see the obvious, and it's such a crucial play. And I'm going to be honest, I do like that Marcus Freeman, Notre Dame's head coach, kind of ignored all that. He was just like, look, we lost because of Y and Z. We didn't lose because of one no call. Doesn't make any sense. So that's my point. We're not going to get into this. I just
a lot of people just kind of, the stuff that happens in the third and fourth quarter is definitely more apparent than the stuff you could have cleaned up in the first. Right? Yeah, I think that's true for both teams. I think at the end of this game, a lot of A&M fans weren't even thinking about the block punt. Right? I don't think that's what was going through their heads. They were just worried about winning the game or not.
Yeah, because again, this was this was a team last year that was close a lot, right? Always so close, no cigar, but there's defensive lapses that did happen, and we're going to get to that in a second. Or just a lack of offense, lack of explosive offense. Those were the things that were keeping them back. We go back to the Texas game last year, losing 17-7. Well, you insert Mario Cravers and Casey Concepcion and a more confident and experienced Marcel Reed in that, they're not losing to Texas. So that's the point, right? They've improved in the areas we wanted to see. Now let's get to the defense. Obviously, I don't want to harp on this because I think pre-show we were talking about this. We do believe that Mike Elko, who is now calling defensive plays, is going to clean things up. He was not a happy man. He threw a chair during I think it was the first half, just in anger of, I think it was the touchdown to Jeremiah Love. I forget. It was one of, I think it was Jadarian Price's touchdown. I forget. It was one.
I think it was Jadarian Price's, but yeah. I think we definitely need to start off with the absolute positives from that game, even on defense. And I think a lot of the time,
actually, no, you know what? That's a good idea because there's not a ton of negatives.
You and I are very much fans of PFF grades because they are very, very good at accurately reflecting what happened.
Yeah.
And the defensive line, they all graded very, very positively. I think we need to highlight Albert Regis first.
Yes.
And Tyler Onyedin, because I think interior defensive run stopping was tremendous. You saw a lot of the times that Notre Dame was running the ball with Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love, they had to bounce outside with these zone runs. And those were what they wanted to do. They wanted to get on the outside with the DBs and you saw it happen. Every single time that they would go on the outside, even with some mesh concepts. I mean, you saw a mesh concept where Jeremiah Love was wide open on a wheel route that just kind of took someone away. He had all this field.
Yeah.
All of the times that the defensive line was there, they have guys now that I don't think people at the start of the season were thinking of as, hey, you lost all these people that are NFL caliber. How are you going to get into that backfield? And I think on the outside with Cassius Howell, Deion Hayes, they've been able to get into that pass rush very, very effectively so far and cause pressure. Even with the one CJ Carr interception, that was just a whole lot of pass rush.
Mm-hmm. Just getting pressure in his face. I mean, it starts up front. DJ Hicks, who we all basically said, former 5-star prospect, one of the more coveted prospects to ever commit to A&M. Was just kind of buried on the depth chart his first 2 seasons, but this is a big year for him.
It was huge.
Was the highest rated defensive player from the Notre Dame game. Was excellent against the run. Gave some pass rush. Had a tackle. He just shedded.
He just went by. It wasn't even like he was there.
God. I'm like, there's the DJ Hicks we were looking. I mean, I was like, there he is. There's that kid we've been hoping to see, and I just think that. Doing that on the road, again, doing that against lesser competition, especially Utah State, we go back to Cassius Howell getting the 3 consecutive sacks. Again, 3 consecutive sacks is nothing to bat an eye at, but you are going against a little lesser talent at left tackle compared to the guys that they develop at Notre Dame. So that's just fact, right? It's a little harder to do that. But no, the fact that he did that in this game, and him and Albert Regis were just dominating inside, especially in the second half when Elko's adjustments came through. And we're going to see a lot more of that. I think what Elko was mad about were just the blown coverages. Obviously, first of all, Des Ricks had another fantastic game. He's quickly
let's give our flowers to Des Ricks on this. Yes. I mean, he's been targeted, I think, a total of 12 times and only allowed 2 catches the entire season so far. And I think 2 of them won this game.
Yeah. It's these guys are living up to the preseason hype, which is just, you don't see it all the time like that, especially Hicks and Ricks. There goes, that rhymes. But again, the fact that he's playing so well and Will Lee, who we all expect to have a great season, is struggling a bit. I mean, it just happens, right? You get targeted a little bit more. If they're not going to target Ricks, they're going to target the other guy on the outside. But look, he made some great plays. He made a great play at the goal line to swat that ball away in man coverage, which prevented a touchdown. He prevented a score or 2, and so he stepped up when he had to, and that's what you want to see. If you're going to have a track race type of game like you did, look, you're going to have to outscore them. Like that's what I'm taking away from this game mainly. And I had a couple days to kind of look into it, and I really wasn't thinking about the defense much. I really wasn't. I wasn't like, oh man, they won the game, but they allowed it. These games happen all the time, and so what are we saying about Miami, right? Miami's a really good team. I think you and I can both agree on that.
I definitely do.
They look fantastic. Carson Beck looks fantastic. Ruben Bain looks like a future top 5 pick. They only won by, 3 points at home against Notre Dame? And Notre Dame scored 21 points. And then 2 weeks later, Notre Dame has all this rest. Some of the players are getting beat up during the game, which was kind of like, wow, you had 2 weeks of rest, but it doesn't really matter. Get beat up in football. But at the same time, where was the defense? Is it A&M is just that good offensively, or did Notre Dame just have a let? We don't know. I think A&M is just that good offensively right now. And I think they kind of told the rest of the country, we're coming. This is real. Like all you people who are saying, oh, UTSA, Utah State, no, it's for real. I mean, I watched a ton of football. I've seen elite prospects. We go back to the A&M's 22 class of Chris Marshall and Evan Stewart. Didn't pan out with the program. Evan Stewart had, he had a pretty good season with them, but again, it just didn't pan out like that. Mainly that was Jimbo Fisher's offense. But when you have a good offensive scheme, when you have a guy who's young, who's innovative and Colin Klein, and you get him these type of weapons, again, this is what you're going to get. And if you have a quarterback who, I was pounding the table for Marcel Reed all offseason. I just felt it in my bones that this was going to be a great season for him. So far, nearly 900 yards passing, 9 touchdowns, 1 pick, which was a mistake. It was a one-on-one throw. I mean, it really, if you're going to throw interceptions, those are ones I can deal with, right? Those are the type of interceptions I can deal with.
I think when you throw it to pretty much Notre Dame's best defensive player in Leonard Moore, that's maybe my opinion, but I think it's a popular one. I think Leonard Moore has proved that he's a very, very good corner in college football. I bet you get nearly 400 total yards, 2 touchdowns, and 4th down game winner. He's getting the national media kind of a little bit more in tune with what he's been putting down so far, and it's only going to get better from here. I mean, in this game, you can talk about the completion percentage all you want, but he was calm, he was clutch, and he pretty much answered everything that Notre Dame
made the plays. Yeah. He made the plays. That is it. I don't care. I didn't even spend time writing about it, like saying, well, he was inaccurate. It didn't matter because they scored 41 points. And if I look back, the plays I remember are not look, he missed a go ball from the goal line to Casey Concepcion. So I'm going to just ask you, if you're a quarterback playing in South Bend, playing in the historic Notre Dame Stadium, you're backed up in your own goal line, and yes, you have it open Casey Concepcion. You have to hit him right in the hands from your goal line. You're a little hyped up. I get it. Sometimes they just get away from you. That happens. It was like the one in the opener where it just kind of got away from him. He was excited. He plays like a kid, which you're supposed to. He plays like amped up, like ready to prove, right? It's not all curled up in a ball, like tight and scared, right? Like that meme of the quarterback, like his fingers are shaking, like they always use all the time, like scared. Yeah. Again, Marcel Reed is everything opposite of that. He's the antithesis of that. So he's going to miss on a couple of those. I get that it would have put him ahead, and maybe they could have finished that game out a little earlier than having to score on the last possession. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. He's going to hit those sooner or later. This is the 3rd game of the season. This is his – I don't know. You got to tell me, which start is this for him? Because I got to look back.
This is what, the 10th total?
Probably 10th overall start. Again,
actually, it might be the 11th. It might be
probably, okay. And he threw for 360 yards, which is a career high in passing for him. 2 scores, like we said, 1 interception that was not costly for them. And he was both 2 receivers were averaging 20-plus yards per catch. So he did his job. And this is the whole point. This is what their offense and Mike Elko have been talking about it all offseason. We need more explosive plays. It's either going to come on the ground or through the air, most likely through the air because of our wide receiver additions. And he was 100% right. This is what we're seeing.
Absolutely.
The rushing attack it's going to catch up. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Le'Veon Moss had 80 yards, I think, of this game and 3 touchdowns.
81 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think the main thing that when I think of Le'Veon Moss in that game was that critical 3rd down conversion he had. And it just kind of kept him in the game.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the kind of play you need from that guy. I mean, you're just going to ramp him up throughout the entire season, and you're going to go from there, because if he's at 100%, I mean, this offense just becomes even harder to defend.
Yeah, it's just funny to me because I think they still had, I'd have to look back. It was over 120, 130 yards rushing. Look, that's pretty good on the road against a defense that is preparing that you're going to try to run the ball, because Klein is always going to try to run the ball. If he can establish the run first, like every team in America, including the NFL, you want to establish a run if you can. Makes your offensive game plan much easier. You're going to do that. Like they try to do that, but they knew after a while that, look, we're going to get Le'Veon Moss averaging about 4+ yards per carry. That's it. But we can live with that because our passing game is going to expose you because we get too much speed out there, and Cravers showed that early. So this is the thing about matchups now. It was very easy defensively to prepare for A&M last year, and I get a lot of people are saying, well, they were leading the SEC in offense. Well, yeah, when Le'Veon Moss was healthy and they had that perfect game plan, he was just tearing defenses up. When he was lost, they were lost. They didn't have enough. They were predictable, and then that's why they went 1-4 at the end of the season. Barring any health, knock on wood, issues going forward. But again, like I said, this bye week comes at a perfect time. A couple guys are beat up, including Marcel Reed. I think just needs a couple weeks off. He's taking a couple big hits. But again, it's just sets everything up perfectly for you because you can't really prepare for this offense that much. What are you going to do? Shut down both wide? You're not. And then Terry Bussey's going to have a big game. Like, they have so many weapons. We haven't even talked about Ashton Bethel-Rome yet, who could easily break out if they do play against a defense that has a perfect plan to bracket Craver and try to cover Casey Concepcion. I just don't see it happening. I think these guys are too quick. They're too fast. It's just not going to happen. So if your run game does start to really gain steam, which it could, because we all do know that with offensive linemen, it's easier to run block than it is to pass block. They've been excellent in pass protection so far this season. So you really don't think they're going to get better throughout the season. I personally think that we're going to see a better run game going into the Auburn game.
Yeah, 100% you're going to see a better run game. And speaking of Terry Bussey, moment of silence for a called back kick return touchdown. Just one moment of silence.
I knew that was going to happen. You know what's funny is so my dad, I didn't go to the game, obviously, as I was I had a long week and I didn't want to catch a flight. But so I was watching with my mom, and it was kind of funny. My dad's out of town, and she was getting really into it. And when that happened, she was basically like, "Oh, I knew they'd do that." She's like, "I knew they'd call that back." I was like, "Why do you say that?" I was like, "Oh, and it was this whole like little conspiracy thing about we can't let them win that way," which is always funny to me because you've seen that in the past where it's like, you don't want to say the refs are doing that, but it's like, no, you can't do it that easily. You're going to have to drive the field.
They're going to have to go all the way down and do it.
But I will say what was funny is that even though it got called back, it did prove to me we're going to see one of those returns successful pretty soon. He's just,
I think so.
He's so electric.
That gives you a very big vote of confidence going forward at why they have him back on those kick returns, because he had, as I have said it before, is if Terry Bussey sees open field, it is his.
Yeah.
I mean, who could have predicted it could have come back, right? Who could have predicted that? But
yeah. And it's, and I think it was kind of funny that Theo Malodostrom, he's still learning the block. I had somebody in my, with one of my other writing teams was like, how did that guy, how did he mess up? Like, he's from Sweden. Like, it's going to take time. Like, he's not perfect at blocking. Like, blocking is very hard, especially in special teams. That's why they have specific guys doing that. And it's like, look, mistakes happen. It didn't kill them. They won the game. Doesn't matter. But it was a good showing from, again, one of the more electric guys on this team. Like I said, we've only seen the start from Terry Bussey. I think he's going to be a bigger part of this offense moving forward. It's just in that game, I think the game plan was we got to get our two best players every opportunity they can, which Marcel Reed did throughout the night. I mean, big play after big play down the field. And really, I mean, I can't say anything else more positive about this game. I just think that we will see after the bye week when they take on Auburn. A lot of people – we can talk about that now. I think it's kind of funny during the game update. They are playing at 2:30, so it's a 2:30 slot. So some of the fan base go, I don't like that. It's like that time hasn't really been good to us in the past. I'm like, okay, well, think about what Auburn's thinking right now. They have to play Oklahoma, who is one of the best teams in the country right now. They look unbeatable in Norman right now, personally, like what I've seen. John Mateer's on another level. He's got total control of that offense. So they have to play there, and then they have to go to Kyle Field against a 3-0 A&M team that is just beaming with confidence, because I get the whole looking back at games and going like, well, we lost these games at 2:30, and there were a couple Auburn games I think they did lose. I think one with Calamar, they lost at 2:30 slot or something. I think that's probably what they're looking at. But at the same time, if A&M would have lost to Notre Dame, and let's say they lost by like 20 points, yeah, sure, I get that. I get you being worried. You got 2 weeks, you have to mull over that. Well, no, you have 2 weeks now where you get to look back at all the great things you did, and then that makes it easier to fix the mistakes. Like that's true in any level of football, going back to high school, it continues in college, in the NFL. If you win, kind of like our Dallas Cowboys have some defensive problems right now, but guess what? They have the best kicker in the world, and they won the game, so they go in the week until they face Chicago on the road.
Brandon Aubrey.
Oh, God. Gee, I should have a Brandon Aubrey. I need to get a Brandon Aubrey shirt, honestly. I mean, that my group chat with my family was just like, this guy, he's the MVP. He's everything. He is the guy.
Hey, I made some picks. I made some plays over the weekend on underdogs. So I think that we'll go into that. Tell you what, I'll share a couple of the plays I made because we do have a sponsor of the show, Underdog Fantasy. So if any of y'all are like me who like to make little plays before the game to sprinkle a little bit on top of it, I got Mario Cravers over his receiving yards and Jeremiah Love to score a touchdown. So very, very nice to see. I got to make a little bit of extra cash over the weekend. So we do have a promo code, right? So if any of y'all are watching, definitely use the promo code. I believe it's VOCFB Aggies. That's VOCFB AGGIES. If you play $5, you actually get $50 instantly. I mean, there's really no. I mean, if you want to play, absolutely do it. I highly recommend it if you want to sprinkle something extra on top of your viewing experience. So
yeah, and there's no downside because it's A&M's offense. They're just the matchups. I'll say this: if you are in the betting world and you would like to make the same type of wagers that Cannon just talked about, I don't think the cornerback play is going to get that much better. So I think we can expect that there's going to be some big days.
Hey, I'll tell you what, I'm absolutely going to be playing Mario Cravers again against Auburn. So
we just saw him. We'll get into that actually. Allowing, I think they're 70th in explosive plays allowed, which isn't that great. So they have a chance to do that. Anyways, as usual, participants must be 21 or older. If you have a gambling problem, you can always call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. So getting to that, that was the one defensive thing that I did write about today in terms of, what they need to clean up. And it really is on defense. Obviously, they are one of the best offenses in the country. Every metric they're in, except for rushing, they're about 77th or 75th. But that's bound to get better. Top 20 in pretty much every category. But on defense, they're 106th, I think, in explosive plays allowed. And I think a lot of that had to do with the first game against UTSA against Robert Henry, who I think is kind of ironic that Robert Henry, I think, is like the best back statistically in a ton of categories. You and I both said that. So yeah, he had a big day. He's going to continue having big days against everybody.
Hey, I feel vindicated on that first show. So
yeah. So I think in 3 games sample size, the reason that ranking is so low is because of his performance. They shut him down in the second half, but he had obviously a big he had a big touchdown in the second half and then a touchdown in the first half, but they shut him down for that. And then obviously the Notre Dame game. Look, they had over 400 yards. Jeremiah Love had that big touchdown, 36-yard wheel route. They had a couple big runs. They had Eli Raridan, their tight end, who was kind of funny that Michael's on the show. He's like, I don't think he's going to do much. And I was kind of thinking to myself, now he's going to do everything. And he did. He let them receive. And he averaged like 22 yards per catch or something. It was brutal to watch. But again, A&M has had trouble in the past against those bigger receivers. But look, personally, and I would like, obviously, we did mention at the top of the show, Bryce Anderson, who looked to be seriously injured after the game. Obviously, our thoughts and prayers are immediately with him, but did get a great update after the game by Mike Elko. And Bryce went to social media himself saying, I'm fine. Like, it was just something that could have been serious, but I'm doing okay. Hopefully if Elko doesn't speak this week, hopefully by next week, we'll get even more information about how he's doing. So
yeah, we'll get those SEC preview reports for injuries before the Auburn game.
By the end of the next week, I think probably by
Wednesday.
I think it's Wednesday. Yeah,
Wednesday. I think evening we get the preliminary, and then Friday we get.
And credit to Bryce Anderson. I mean, he's having a fantastic game. Like, that's the thing. I don't think a lot of
Bryce Anderson in that game we saw just completely like
all over the field.
He was in the right spots at the right time, and it just sucks that was the outcome for him in the second half. That kind of took the breath out of both Notre Dame and A&M fans. I mean, I saw so many Notre Dame fans online just going, "Hey, this is awful. We hate this for you, Aggies," because we're consistently seeing just blows back and forth of just a slugfest of offense on either side. But our prayers do go out to Bryce Anderson for a speedy recovery because that kid has been through it with this A&M program so far.
Yeah, and again, I think the thing that a lot of people forget, and I think it was either Mike Elko or Jay Bateman who said it during the preseason or maybe even earlier than that, just saying, look, like this was a former quarterback. This is a kid that had to learn safety on the fly. He switched to safety because he wasn't going to play quarterback at this level. But just a freakish athlete, just somebody who could easily transition to the safety position. We've seen that with some kind of dual threat quarterbacks in the past do that. So it's taking time. He's had his struggles. Didn't play well. Didn't play particularly well in the first two games. Played okay. But was having his best game. Even PFF agreed. He had excellent coverage grades in that area. But yeah, it was one of those moments that I was kind of looking at it. Kind of the same when Marcel Reed got hit. I mean, you just hope for the best because Reed, everybody has their tell when they're hurt. Reed he kind of shakes his fingers a little bit. I think that's a way of him just kind of thinking, okay, I'm okay. He's done it a couple times. It is scary though, because when he's down, when your hands are kind of like that, you kind of do get a little freaked out that maybe it was a movement thing. But he's okay. He took a couple blows and then he went out and threw that game-winning touchdown. So I think he's doing okay. But no, Anderson, if he is lost for a handful of games, I do expect that their safety room will be okay. I think they've got some depth there. But again, they just need better play overall from the secondary. You need to cut down on those explosive plays. I don't think that the offenses they face going forward, outside of, like you said, we talked about with Arkansas with Taylor Green, is going to be a challenge. They played Ole Miss this past weekend. I think they lost like 42-35. I mean, that team can score. They can put up points. They've got a great wide receiver core. So they are obviously a challenge. But we can go through DJ Lagway, Florida, through 3 picks against LSU. Did not look the best. We thought that was going to be a significant challenge. Now, kind of veering towards I would pick the Aggies in that one. I think that they could just playing at home against those teams. South Carolina losing to Vanderbilt at home 31-7, which was
I mean, they were one dimensional after Lenore's
after he went down. So that's something to watch. That's a late game for A&M in Kyle Field. Yeah, and I'm going to be honest, it's going to be an emotional rematch. This was. I still think going back to Le'Veon Moss's injury against them, blowing them out in Columbia, I think A&M is going to be ready for that game. I think they're pissed off. I think they want to prove that South Carolina didn't own their emotions that night. And like you said, one-dimensional when their quarterback's out. And they beat. I'll be honest, this isn't like the South Carolina hate show or anything. It's not. I'm just facts. But they played a Virginia Tech team that looks absolutely horrific. Just fired Brett Pry, their head coach. I think they got blown out by Old Dominion last week. So it's kind of interesting. We could honestly spend the entire show talking about the SEC right now. Texas doesn't look they look pretty one-dimensional. I'm not going to get into trashing them or Manning. That's not my job. They just don't look like the team we expected offensively. Defense looks good, but again, as we've seen with the Iowa Hawkeyes and others, defense can't win you championships only. And outside of, Georgia, I think Tennessee's still a good team. I think they've got a great offense. I think they're kind of similar to A&M right now in that way, just really good offense. Some questions on defense. A&M, obviously, Missouri, Arkansas, I still think is a good team. There's a handful of them that I trust. But for A&M, we were going into this game kind of looking at the SEC a lot different, right? I mean, but I think last week really spelled it out for us a little bit.
We got a little bit more context over the SEC than we previously didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
I think that when you look ahead on the Aggie schedule, I mean, you have 3 straight home games, which you and I expect both, like all of those games to be achievable, if not over the top wins for the Aggies. I mean, we are seeing an Auburn team that is trying to put the pieces back together because they brought Jackson Arnold in. They have the defense, I believe, that they think that they can win under Hugh Freeze, and they're trying to put these pieces together. But we're going to get a little bit more context this weekend when Auburn takes on Oklahoma. So another piece of the SEC puzzle put together. And Oklahoma has looked really, really good so far, but that's neither here nor there. Then you look ahead to Florida. You look ahead to Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those games are entirely winnable. And I think if you are the Aggies, you don't want to look too far ahead, but you want to be able to be prepared for this SEC play coming up. And you want to make a statement. And you made a statement going into Notre Dame and winning. Now you have to defend home field, and you have to be able to pull out these wins. And that's why this bye week, I think, in my mind, is so important.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll kind of wrap this up. That's what I take away, right? It was funny when Texas fans were all distraught. I mean, like, he still won the game. It's like we're getting a little too early on that. I don't know, but and I'm not looking ahead to that game. That is the last game of the season. I am not saying that A&M now has the upper hand against. We have no idea, but I will say that, like you just said, winning this game was so monumental for your program because, and you saw Mike Elko after this game. He got that demon off his shoulder. Like, he finally did what a lot of people still doubted he could do, was win a game like this, a potentially program-altering win that was in front of a bunch of Notre Dame recruits that a couple A&M are going after, which I thought was interesting, right? So they kind of saw maybe the future, like especially in the SEC that we've been talking about with the 2026 recruiting class, how good it's been. Either way, it does set you up for you have now this weekend, and I think it's great for that team to watch the rest of the SEC, to watch Auburn against Oklahoma, because I think it's the biggest game. I think Robert Behrens, who's been on the show obviously multiple times, he never misses. He really never. One of my team members is like, this. He never misses. He's like, look, A&M's not playing this weekend, but look at all the games that could determine the SEC, that could really tell us more. And he's right. I mean, that Auburn-Oklahoma game is huge for how good is Auburn, because they're not giving them a shot at winning right now in Norman. Obviously, it's the return game for Jackson Arnold. Obviously played at Oklahoma. But again, that's a measuring stick for them, and that's really going to help the scouting for A&M going into that week. And we saw Florida just does not look like a great team. They could be out. Their head coach could be out of a job soon. Mississippi State, good offense, but I guarantee A&M could score a lot of points on that defense. I just don't believe in it. I think they're still young. And then you really look down the line, LSU and Baton Rouge is going to be tough. Great defense, cornerback play is excellent. Probably a low-scoring type of game. But really nothing stand. And yeah, Arkansas on the road, Missouri on the road. Those are the toughest right now outside of Texas and Austin. Those are the games where I'm kind of like, I could see A&M dropping a game at either of those places, just because they're probably going to make it a night game just to, up the ante a bit. So I could easily see that, especially late in the season, but it just does not look as intimidating right now as it did really last week, even going into this game.
Right. 100%. You're exactly right. I don't think I have anything to add to that. Yeah. Right? You kind of spoke my mind into existence. So
yeah, I mean, we're doing the same thing. So it's like, and we'll both be watching all those games this weekend with A&M off and really observing, just because. And look, we will be watching Texas again, because it's incredible to me that Arch Manning isn't living up to even close to the hype right now. But I still do think personally that Steve Sarkisian will fix some things, and I think Texas will get back on track. I just don't think it's going to be this bad, because it's kind of incredible. But anyways, let's get off of that. But to end the show, because we both need to get out of here in about less than 10 minutes. But You and I both have spoke off camera about Colin Klein, A&M's OC, potentially being a candidate for various head coaching jobs, specifically going back to Kansas State potentially. Kansas State is struggling immensely this season, started the year out losing Iowa State in Dublin, Ireland, lost to
Army.
Yeah, Army, which that was a bad loss for the bye game.
Very closely almost lost to an FCS.
North Dakota, and then lost Arizona in a close one. I think it was 23-17 last week.
Look, this is not us saying this early in the season that we're looking at Colin Klein leaving or anything like that. It's just a topic of conversation.
Just a topic you and I had. There's no reports. There's nothing out there. We're not saying anything. We haven't heard from anybody. It's just we've seen this in the past. You could ask anybody in our job that when good things are happening for you, good things are happening on offense or defense, and you have leadership potential, and you've already had an OC job at another prestigious program, like Kansas State is considered prestigious in the Big 12. Obviously, they put a lot of money into that program. But Chris Simon is probably on the hot seat right now. I mean, it's not looking good. He came into the season having a roster he thought was good enough to compete for a Big 12 championship and potentially spot in the college football playoff. They are not even close to bowl game territory right now of how they're playing. And I think that is going to spark some. I think his buyout is $30 million, but I think that's the type of thing where they could figure that out.
Buyouts are a little bit weird. It depends on the contract. I mean, the Kansas State, if they were to fire him right now, they'd owe him, I think, an average of $5.5 to $6 million over the next 6 years. And I think it dies down to like 3.5 in 2030. So, but Kansas State, when they pulled head coaches over at Big 12 media days, most of them, I think the majority was that Kansas State could be one of the favorites for the Big 12 title. And look, here they are. We're going into week 4 of the season, and Chris Kleiman just hasn't been able to put it together this year.
It's incredible how bad they've been too, because I've seen that roster. I've watched it. I know guys who cover Kansas State. It was good enough. I mean, they went out and got the big wide receiver, the big X guy they needed. They have a great offensive line, supposedly. They have a veteran defensive line. They have a pretty good cornerback room. They have all the pieces. They have the quarterback they thought, the mobile guy in Avery Williams that they feel could have been, that maybe they're Marcel Reed in a way. I don't know what they kind of thought, but it's horrible. I mean, it's ugly. It's bad to watch, and that's what gets you fired, right? The
conversation that comes up is just what jobs could open, and could A&M's coaches, if any of them, could be a candidate. And we think, as of right now, if Colin Klein continues on the run that he's having right now, with a body of work, he could be a candidate for some jobs that could come open. And we've already seen 2 jobs come open with Virginia Tech's head coaching job and UCLA's head coaching.
I don't think he'd be Virginia Tech. But I do think Kansas State's really the clear cut, because obviously he's maybe the greatest quarterback to play there in terms of statistics.
In terms of statistics and maybe stature,
and just he's one of those guys who will never have to pay for a meal in Manhattan type of deal.
Right.
Kind of like Zach Calzada with A&M, but either way, so it is a topic of conversation. I do believe, like you said, if this success keeps going on, if A&M's offense is one of the best offenses throughout the season, gets him to 9-10 wins, gets him to the college football playoff for the first time, he is going to be a very hot candidate for a lot of programs, because schools are obsessed with offense. They know that offense is key. They feel, and this, you can look at the NFL. Defensive coaches just don't pan out a lot. They just don't. The head coaches, like the defensive coordinators turning into head coaches. I could name a long list of guys who were not head coaches very long, who had to go back into defensive coordinator roles. It's just different. It has to do with offense, and I don't even know sometimes.
It's different, but it's also funny that probably the best coach in college football right now is a defensive in Kirby Smart. So
Kirby Smart is also Mike Elko, and I think the reason for that because you are right. Mike Elko is defensive coordinator by trade. But I think Penn education, very intellectual guy, business savvy, as we've seen with recruiting, with building. So I think some of them do pan out. I shouldn't say all of them, but I think some of them do pan out. But I think just the way that Colin Klein runs offense, the way that he's recruited well, the relationship building, I think any program would be willing to take a chance on him. He's still very young.
Yeah.
And obviously having, 2 years at A&M, turning around an SEC program.
And to our viewers, Cameron and I both think that there are many other candidates out there right now that a lot of teams would look out for first.
Yes.
The first thing that pops into my head who should be primed for a head coaching role here soon is Will Stein up in Oregon. He's been a very, very massive reason why their offense is humming every single year. And he has been monumental in recruiting along the West Coast. That's a guy. And we both think that the defensive coordinator for Georgia has been a topic of name the past 2 years. There are guys out there that I think teams, especially up at the Power 4 level, would look at first when it comes to, but it's just something to look out for down the line if A&M, and we definitely are hoping A&M continues along this hot streak of offensive production because it gives us more stuff to talk about, right? I mean, that's just immediately how it is.
Yeah, it's a topic of conversation. It's just you just got to prepare for this kind of stuff. I think you always have to look ahead in that regard because you did know that when Mike Elko put the staff together, getting guys like Coleman Wiggins at wide receiver, he's really living up to that right now. Excellent recruiter. Obviously was one of the big reasons why Casey Concepcion and Mario Cravers chose A&M because of his background. They knew what he did at Alabama. And obviously proven to be an excellent coach as well, kind of having that combination there. It is funny, though, because I will say that, Colin Klein was much maligned after the season. A lot of people want to put blame on him. Well, that's not happening anymore because, like we had said, it doesn't make any sense to put blame on him. He needed more pieces. He needed more to work with. He got those now, and A&M's offense is thriving. So either way, it's just something to put out there. We're not trying to be like, if it does happen, we were the first ones to say it. That's just stupid. I don't care about that kind of crap. But no, you are right. There are a lot of names out there. There's a lot of young guys who have been kind of having great success under the covers. Nobody's really paying that much attention. Oregon is kind of funny to me. Nobody really talks about them that much, even though they look like one of the best teams in college football right now, mainly because they're Oregon and they're in the Big Ten. They're not a brand, they're not a brand to talk about a lot, I guess, in controversy or something like that. But those names you put out there, they're going to be big candidates, especially for Virginia Tech. I think Virginia Tech is, I wouldn't see them looking at Colin Klein. I would see them looking at it, trying to get a much bigger name, I guess, because
I think someone who's more familiar with the NIL landscape as well. I just don't think that Colin Klein should be their guy.
Yeah, I don't think he's a great fit for everybody either. Personally, I think that 3 years at A&M is the perfect amount of time if you do want to go get another position. I think that one of the things I've seen with OCs in the past is working with different quarterbacks, developing them, putting together an offense that works with anybody under center at center is really what gets them. That's why we've said with Oregon, brand new quarterback, still thriving, right? So that's going to be something on your resume that's like, well, he can do it with anybody. He can develop anybody. So he's a potential candidate. Anyways, that's all we got for you guys today.
Excellent show today. I mean, we just are coming down off of the high.
Yeah, we had a lot to talk about. I think most of it was just supremely positive. I'm going to be honest. I've not felt as good about A&M for a long time. I think going back to, I don't even know, actually. I'm going to be honest because it's been such a couple of years. I mean, last year after beating LSU, I thought this team was pretty good. But I will personally say I still thought, you know what, I don't know how good they can be because they're just lacking speed at wide receiver. That's not the case anymore. So that's in reality. We're living in reality, but it's okay to be very excited living in reality as well. Yeah. Next week, we will hope to have a special guest on the show to discuss the Auburn matchup. One of my buddies from Auburn Wire at College Wires. I'll try to get him on the show, try to book him on the show. It's going to be a very interesting matchup. I think that when it comes to coming off a bye week, you have to I guess, prevent from being, a little lackadaisical. You have to be ready. You have to be in that same mindset you were in a primetime game at night on the road, which is harder to get back. But I think returning to Kyle Field, which is going to be potentially close to sold out, I would think, just the way they're playing right now.
I would assume so.
So, but I will say to end this, for every A&M fan out there that, A&M's not playing. If you're a Cowboys fan, they played the Chicago Bears. I think it's a 3:25 game on Sunday. But I would watch the Auburn-Oklahoma game. I think that's going to be a very revealing game for Auburn because, like you and I both said, not too high on Jackson Arnold as the passer yet, despite having those two great wide receivers. So we'll see how he takes care of business, if he takes care of business going back home to Norman. Okay. As always, I'm your host, Cameron Honesty. You can follow me at Cameron Honesty on X. That is Cannon Torres. You can follow him at Torres Cannon. You can follow all my work and my team's work, Jared Johnson and Dylan Flippo, both my contributing writers at Aggies Wire, part of USA Today Sports and the College Wires. And Cannon, where can the folks find you with your Patreon?
Yeah, they can, like you said, they can find me at Torres Cannon on X or on Patreon, covering recruiting for Texas A&M on football and basketball, doing some great content over at Bell Tower Intel. So definitely hop on over.
All right, for sure. And we'll be back here next Tuesday to preview the Auburn game and get back on in the saddle, I guess, after a much-needed bye week for this team. So as always, get them, and we'll see you next week.